Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old and new England games and ask just how England was this.
We've made it. England will play Spain in the Euro 2024 final. Let's do it.
You may be a stranger, but that's what time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me. Darling, there's no danger with all that we've been through, that anyone could love you more.
A sigh of relief, a sigh of ecstasy, a sigh of anticipation, a Saturday morning sigh.
Says a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot
In
in
one
there, isn't
sigh.
there? A lot of the context.
Not everyone would have figured out the context, but that's why I explained it, literally. Happy Saturday morning, Nick. It's a shame we didn't get to speak up until now, isn't it? After Wednesday's shenanigans.
I've essentially just been out on the piss ever since.
Not
And
even like football linked. The football's just like an extra 5% on the top. Is that right?
yeah, it's just been there's been other arrangements, and it's just like, okay, let's just get through another day. And yeah, and I think this is actually the best I've felt for a little while now, just because I'm sober. So I'm just quite enjoying it all now. So I'm just like, yes, absolutely lovely. And yeah, shame we didn't get the kind of the joy and initial euphoria, but I think we'd have been actually like unintelligible if we'd have done that.
Yeah. We also had a cease and desist come through from Gary Lineker, who said, "I'm the only one allowed to talk about England." I made the mistake again of listening to the rest is football.
Oh no!
Because I was just
I
desperate
thought
for
you'd
action.
diverted it.
No, and it's just so annoying. They just talk about like commentary, like, and Gary Lineker's like, not Mika Richards, even though he does the commentary, like, or the studio stuff with them, he'll be like, "Tell me, Gary, what's it like when you're the man in the studio and the whole country's looking
I've
to
got the
you?"
exact same job as you. I just sit
Yeah.
a few rows down from you. Like, what's it like?
And then that's catnip to Lineker, who's like, "Well, Micah, it's very
Like
much like walking a tightrope made of electricity."
it's like he's doing his own high performance podcast.
Yeah. Anywho, there was a high performance this week. Certainly
Yes.
some of it was high performance. England 2, Netherlands 1. England are in the final. Everybody who's listening knows this. We won't spend forever looking back at the game because I'm sure everyone's rewatched all the best bits. We had a quick Watkins fix prior to starting the podcast, just a quick watch of the goal. But let's look back because it is worth savouring this whole experience. How were your fear levels going into the game?
It was the first time going into a game this tournament I've actually felt like it was properly right. This is a game now. This is a tournament game, not like this. I just don't know how I feel. It feels all a bit weird. And like
Yeah.
instead, I was like, yes, again, as always, march into town, England playlist on, and like get there early, have my early beer. And then I was like, yes, I'm ready now. But yeah, I felt it was 50-50 kind of going in. A lot of people I found felt quite confident and they didn't really rate
Yeah.
the Netherlands. I just didn't see the game was going to turn out that way of like England were going to stroll into the final because I've watched England this tournament and that's not something that they've done at any point. So yeah, I was nervous and yeah, big tournament feeling really.
I was very much, as we've discussed before, about this tournament as a whole, really. More just like, none of this is really happening.
You
And
were still not, you kind of disassociated still.
yeah, and I think I messaged you just prior and it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Why? And I genuinely think my brain has just not reconciled with the fact that we didn't go out against Slovakia.
Yeah.
That 95th minute bicycle kick equaliser. I think I was saying to you, it felt like we're doing well. We're in the semi-finals of the Europa League, though, because we were knocked out of the Champions League, so to speak.
Yeah.
So my fear factor was, it was there once, the players come out. But I was saying to Jen, I was like, this feels like nothing compared to the France game at the World Cup, where I was like hysterical for the whole day and just doing so many odd jobs around the house just to distract myself. But it's later on in the tournament as well.
And I think I was similar as well. Like, I was okay until about 2 o'clock, and I got a lot of my work done. And I was kind of just doing other little bits, and I was like, okay, I haven't really had a lunch break yet. Let's go and do this. And I
Yeah.
found myself like at like half five, just noodling, just absolutely like just walking around, just being like, yep, just gonna quickly do this for a second, and like not being able to put my phone down and
Yeah.
relax for a minute. And then I got the cricket was on the TV, so I was watching a bit of that, but it just was not holding my attention either. And I was just like, oh, this is what it's like. This is what that horrible like Euros final was like 3 years ago, waking up and just being like, jobs. I just need distraction jobs, and I felt that from about half five, I'd say.
It's a binge drinker's nightmare.
Oh, horrendous,
Because you know
nervous
there'll be
power
people,
drinking.
you know that you won't be alone if you start drinking really early on Sunday. You're not going to be the only person, but do you
Yeah.
want to be that guy yourself?
Just walking into the pub, and everyone just kind of looks up at that horrible gaunt like fear on their face.
That's why we get together and watch the games. As a nation. What
Yeah.
was your reaction to the team sheet? There was only the one change. Gehi coming back in for Beckons, and it looked like we're sticking with the back five.
Yeah, I was happy with that. Again, the only idea you think probably was going to be is Luke Shaw going to play? And I just wasn't sure. None of the coverage had been. Is he sticking with the five at the back, or is he going back to four? And then it was pretty quick to see. Okay, it's still five. That's good. And I think it kind of matched Netherlands up, as Dumfries just likes to get forward so much. They're basically
Yeah.
playing with three at the back anyway, even though it starts off as a four. But I was happy with it, and was just kind of ready as it all happened.
Somebody in a group chat said, I have to say, I hold my hands up. I was wrong about Southgate. He's made in this tournament, he's made the right changes to the team. I said he actually hasn't made any changes to the team. He's just moved them round.
Yeah.
Crazy, isn't it? Like how underperforming it was. And I was on this podcast going, we need literally, I think we need like 5 or 6
We did
changes
say
going
that,
into a
yeah.
quarter final. And he's just gone, how about none? How about 0 changes? But one big change. It's
Yeah.
not
And
actually
it's
that big either.
and it has really worked as well. Actually, England have looked a lot more comfortable with that back five.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it's hard really, because obviously the things that we said about what Southgate was the problem with England was a lot of kind of what Southgate was doing and the underperforming players. And that could still be true, but at the same time, it has been righted, and the best of Southgate has also shown in this tournament now as well, with kind of what happened in this game as well, and the kind of relaxation into the back five for the Swiss game too.
Yeah. It looked to be quite a good match from the kickoff. I thought straight away, I was like, this is a level up. And England looked level up because they were passing to each other and it wasn't going 10 yards behind them or out of play. But that's been the symbol of quality that we've been looking for. But it was an early goal from Xavi Simons, who absolutely levered it into the top corner, taking advantage of a Declan Rice slip. And I was a bit like, yeah, that we deserve that.
Yeah.
But then you look at the clock and you think, oh, it's a bit early.
Yeah, lift off Netherlands. Yeah, it's a bit. You know what this game actually ended up being like? This game was like the teams were switched around traditionally. Like
Yeah.
this, like the Netherlands performance was classic England of like going in front early, but then like kind of seizing in all control of the game. And we'll go through this like a little bit more detail, but a penalty which is a little bit questionable, and then coming into it after half time and going like, we're pushing here, great.
But
And
not
then
actually
losing
making
really late
massive
on.
chances either.
Yeah, and then losing late on as well. And it's just like, God, that was. I mean, is this the most England performance from another team that we've ever seen?
I think so. We'll have to look back through the archives, but that would take some beating.
Yeah,
After the goal, England came back strong, pretty. They did look to regain the composure. I think it was Southgate or Trippier that was one of the first cut twos on the TV doing the old pushing the hands down as if to say calm. And I was like,
yeah.
okay, let's see what calm does, because calm's done us pretty well. And then it's the penalty, as you just mentioned there. Very, very un-England moment, I think, to get a penalty like this. I'd say there has been more debate than I thought. At first, when Kane hit the deck, I was like, get up, come on. And then when they showed the first replay, I was just a bit like, why are the commentators still going, no, never a penalty for me.
I think the accent can tell you why.
But I felt like the commentators backed themselves into a corner just by saying, no, don't be stupid. Then they got the American woman, I forget her name, on to talk about it, who's like the VAR analyst or what have you.
The Lord of the VAR, yeah.
And then in the middle of her saying it's not going to be a penalty, the referee decided to have a look. And I think I always feel like when they go to have a look, that means it's going to happen.
Definitely, yeah.
And then just before the final decision was made, Ali McCoy did say, I don't see how it's not a penalty. and my thought is, it's like, I think 2 times out of 10, that's a penalty. Like, I've given up with being enraged by what a penalty is or even half attempting to understand the rules because it changes every week, seemingly, in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I just thought, yeah, you know what? He has kind of kicked him there. The ball's gone away. It was almost like a weird coming together where sometimes in the sport you're like, oh, there's a rule in place, but there is like a little blind spot where you go, but what if this happens? Well, that'd have to be a perfect storm for that to happen. And it happened in this case. So we got the penalty. If I was Dutch, I would be absolutely fuming.
Yeah.
I would like to think if I was a neutral referee, I would be, well, I think if I was 2 out of 10 referees, I'd probably think about giving it, and we got it on the day. I just think on commentary, they backed themselves into a corner by being so adamant that it wasn't, and that kind of flavours the mood of the country. I think you're going to have a much simpler explanation for your thoughts for it.
No, I think at the time when it happened, I saw that Kane had gone down. I was a bit like, oh, it's just a coming together. There's not really much you can do about it. And when we were in the pub, we were saying, yeah, I don't think that's a penalty because, Dumfries puts his foot up. He can't really do much else because he is making an attempt to block the ball. And then kind of the longer it went on that Kane was down, I feel like it was maybe like an excuse to be like, let's just take a look at that again. Kane's down for a bit.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, they are looking at it here. And then we had a little bit of the commentary as well. As I don't think so. And we kept saying no. And then, like you say, as soon as he goes over, in a nice way, I think I'm probably the person who's more into football out of everybody we were with.
Yeah.
And when he went over, my heart just started going, hello. I'm not going to let it be known that a lot of the time this goes in like the way of the team having it reviewed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think since I've convinced myself that it's kind of 50-50 and you could see it, because there's a lot of things when you go, well, his foot is up, it does catch him. Like we had a lot of like when goalkeepers were coming out last season, Anana, and taking out like players, and there was like months of this is a disgrace. He gets nowhere near the ball and it's a clear penalty. How is he not given?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same situation where Dumfries doesn't get the ball is gone, and the contact has been made, and it's that thing again of, well, everywhere else on the park, that's a foul, and it doesn't mean that you say as well. It doesn't mean that just because it's in the penalty area, it has to be more of a foul because that's not the laws.
Yeah.
So it was a bit. I've kind of convinced myself that I could be happy that it's been given, but I'm still a bit like, really, should it be a penalty? And that's more of a existential thing of, well, what are the rules anymore and things like that too. Same with like handballs. Like obviously we had a Cucurella getting booed at the stadium because he didn't give a penalty away. And then it's good to see that Germany have lost their minds as well as like what English people do in games too, where they're booing an opposition player for a penalty that wasn't a penalty.
I know, crazy.
Yeah, it all kind of came round, and I was just glad it was given in the end.
Slice of luck, really. We do. I mean, that's the least you can say.
That.
Even if at best, it's 50-50, I think, and you need luck for your 50-50 to go your way. Kane made sure of the equaliser, though. Happy for him after missing, the last one in a big international tournament. 1-1. Phil Foden started to come alive in the tournament not long after that, didn't he?
Yeah, he started showing up again.
When he cut in, the shot where he hit the bar.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I was just like, now do it, because if this was against Man United, I've seen you score it about 5 times this season against United. It's like his kind of special move, and God, he hit it nice, and he was showing for the ball. He was comfortably the best player on the pitch, and I think everyone in the country was starting to get a bit excited then. In the chaos, Netherlands did hit the bar. Dumfries from a corner, beautiful header. So again, another slice of luck there. But England had already hit the bar as well. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Luke Shaw brought on at half time. Early sub from Gareth, proactive sub.
I think so, yeah, because as well, England, like the formation was working, England were finding space and they were really running at Netherlands. And then I think I went to the loo just before half time and then they had to make, was it Memphis that came off?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah.
For the Netherlands, and I just kind of seen a sub had been made, and I was like, I can't quite see who that is. And then at halftime, Weghorst came on for Netherlands as well, so they'd made two of their changes, so they'd seen that they'd got to write something because it just wasn't working. But even with like Trippier on the left, England were playing well. He was neat and tidy, and it was like, oh, that's the best version of him we've seen in the tournament too. But because he had to lose that timing coming back onto his right foot, England were losing that momentum on the left side. So bringing Shaw on is just that better outlet there now, isn't it? Which is what we've been wanting, and we would have had all tournament if he'd have been fit enough.
Yeah, and unfortunately for England, the game kind of got a bit more cagey in the second half. I would say the Netherlands were taking control ever so slightly, not massive control, but we weren't really getting it out of our kind of area and the surrounding area from that. Yeah, it was getting very tense towards the end. Foden and Kane were the ones who made way for Palmer and Watkins. So very brave substitutions there. I don't think it was brave to take Kane off at all, to be honest. I thought he was pretty.
He'd had one of his
naff.
better games in the first half. I thought he was actually linking the play like he does really well because he's an excellent passer of the ball.
Yeah.
He just wasn't able to do a lot of the other stuff. So you're like, yeah, I can see why Kane's coming off. Foden, you kind of go, okay, again, his influence on the game had changed, and Palmer is kind of that, as he's been like that cold finisher of like a player to come on really and bring the best out of others in the game as well and find that pass. And it was interesting that it was Watkins and
I was
not
just
Tony.
about to ask you that. Yeah. I forgot about kind of my okay. Boy, yeah, because I've been clamoring for Tony to start. I feel like he'd done enough to be like, I'm the second striker guy. And like you say, Watkins comes on. How did you feel at the time?
Well, I was with an Aston Villa fan, so he was very happy, which was great to see. And obviously, we live in the Midlands, so there's probably more Midlands and Aston Villa fans around us anyway. So yeah, the pub was quite happy that Watkins was coming on. I think it was clearly that he was like, okay, you've got Tony who's going to be able to hold up the ball and link it up well and do the Kane job. Watkins is going to do more of, he's excellent at holding the ball up anyway, but probably like the chance he actually scored from, I couldn't see Tony scoring that goal. I just don't think he's got like the feet and the strength maybe to find that space. And as we're seeing, like Watkins can run in behind as well. And you kind of have seen as the tournament's gone on, maybe you understand a little bit more why Southgate has made the weird changes at the start to keep the players that probably weren't going to get a game at the back end of the tournament involved.
Which is what I was saying early on. I was hoping was the plan, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, people like Bowen. I mean, he came on in the first two games, I think, and I don't think we've seen him since. And at the time, I thought it was a bit of a weird move in taking him in general. And we obviously didn't see much of Watkins and Tony and Palmer and all that. And obviously Anthony Gordon's still notable by his absence, but it's not as missed anymore.
Even Gallagher, in the sense of he must have known that Mainu was the best option in midfield. Because
I don't know quite about that, because I think if he's your best player basically in midfield, you're not going save him for halftime in game 3.
No, but at the same time, like he had to fight for his place in there. He must have seen the qualities that he's bringing in training are above Gallagher, but also Mainu had just played the FA Cup final and played like something like 40 games in a row for Man United in his first flipping season. I get your point, definitely. And it probably is a bit of a stretch, but just as a little side note, I'm so happy that Mainu's found his way into this team and has been like man of the match back to back and things like that.
He's pretty much been England's best player at the tournament. And I don't think that's us biasly saying that. Like, he has come in, he was good in that second half. He started the 2 knockout games from, the first one, the bits I saw, he was really good. And then the second one, I thought he was really steady and calm and without being spectacular. And I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch in this game as well. And even just kind of like some of his jinky runs and the way he carries the ball
Oh,
and, you know,
it's beautiful.
his calmness on it as well. There was like at one point he was outside the Netherlands penalty area, and he just did this like nice cross back heel to someone.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like really flash or anything like that. It was just seemed as like the most sensible way of getting the ball to the player he wanted to. And he obviously sets up Foden for his chance where his lovely feet and it's cleared off the line. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
plays the ball forward for that as well. And you just think, you know, we'd have loved now. I mean, we said at the time we thought he should have been starting for England at the
Yeah.
start of the tournament. The fact that Alexander-Arnold started fine, but then to make the change with Gallagher and then not to play Mainu, I think it was just like that was crazy. And I'm glad that it's all come round now, so everyone can kind of go brilliant. And we'll talk about a little bit of the content later, but did you see his Instagram story? I'm not on Instagram, so someone reposted it on Twitter so I could see it.
Was it the
And
one something to do with Graham Taylor? Or have I made that
no,
up?
so his one was it was like lots of pictures of the game and like him with the England players. I think there was maybe one of like someone in his family as well, like just like these the pictures that kept sliding across.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it cut to I think it's the 1991 FA Cup final footage or semi-final
Gaza.
footage of Paul Gaza just going,
Yeah.
I'm off to go get me suit measured for the final. Yes.
Absolutely class. Yeah, the game it did open up a little bit towards the end, partially because of the subs you'd imagine. I just have to say at this point, Netherlands, not quite Colombia level, but on a low
Yeah.
key, I was starting to really hate them. In particular, Van Dijk, Ake, and Weghorst. I think Van Dijk is such a flipping idiot. Like, it's just obviously Liverpool fans will love him, and that's fine. Like, everyone hates Bruno Fernandes, and that's fine.
Mm.
But like, just this, I don't know what Bellingham's a bit like it as well. To be honest, this kind of like idea that like I'm actually really hard, and like just don't
Yeah.
step to me, guys, because if I switch, you don't want to know. And just this
Yeah.
whole fucking, oh, he's got an aura about him, and that's what makes him a great centre back. He's a very, very good centre back. Don't get me wrong, but he's talking about retiring from club and international football. Why? You know what I mean? It's the ego thing there.
Because he's a baby.
I thought Ake was being a bit too much with Saka. Saka gets bad treatment quite a lot of the time. He was annoying me, and Weghorst was just a fucking joke. Just actual scum. Like some of the corners, like the way.
There's one on Stones. I remember he just grabbed his face at one point.
Yeah,
Or it may have been Rice, actually. Yeah.
But we're not rising to those things at all, which is great to see. Except for maybe Bellingham, but luckily he wasn't a target, or they didn't get to target him, because I do feel like he probably would react. There was an offside Saka goal in there, which I'd completely forgotten about until you added it to the notes as well. Starting to feel, though, by that point that maybe England were getting back kind of on the ascendancy after a tough 25, 30 minutes.
I think with 10 minutes to go, when I think it's about that, basically before that Saka goal goes in, I was saying this is all feeling a bit horrible. Netherlands late winner. Just because, again, I've seen this game before. I know what happens when these kind of situations. Yeah, exactly. I know what's happening here. And then everyone was like, oh, I don't know, it's still quite even. I'm just like, I've got a horrible feeling about this. And then obviously the Saka goal, and then you go, okay, maybe not as bad. Yeah, maybe, and I think England did kind of grow into it a little bit more as the game kind of went on a bit, and it was getting really stretched and 50-50. And then obviously kind of the moment comes really out of nowhere.
Yeah. The most un-England moment possible. Ollie Watkins, incredible goal. 89 minutes, 59 seconds as the ball crosses the line, which is just fantastic. This is the kind of stuff, again, that we've never done in the past. I thought the celebration was absolutely amazing to see. Just the pure joy, just running and smiling.
Yeah.
That's a simple celebration. None of this like choreographed. This is my trademarked, branded celebration.
Like Cole Palmer kind of thing, or just like, whatever A means, or something like that. Like, no.
Get the hard cam on me, and I'm going to do this move, then somebody else is going to do that. It's just running and smiling. Absolutely brilliant.
Just not
What a
even running
goal.
anywhere either. It was just
No.
like my body put me in this direction, and I'm just running. Oh, by the way, our bench is here. Fucking great. And then
Yeah.
like
Harry
this
Kane at the front of it as well.
as well, like the pylon. I don't know if I've ever seen an England pylon in those situations. I remember in the 2018 World Cup, the Tunisia late winner for Kane. I remember that was a bit of a pylon, and it felt like again that was the start really
Yeah.
of this big journey we've been on with Southgate in England when it's been how good it's been. And that kind of almost was like it had come the whole way around. Like there was another pylon for another late winner in a tournament. And like this had gone from it's only Tunisia
Yeah.
to we're in a consecutive Euros final.
I know. Amazing. I want to float that. That may be the best England goal of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Quality
Yeah.
wise, it's very, very good. We've seen better England goals, like quality wise, but nowhere near the the kind of importance when it comes to the competition. All of our big games that we've won under Southgate, you can't pick a goal out that's as good as that one.
No.
Mm.
Especially when you've got like the build up to it as well. I think it was Rice that put in a ball into Mino, and he kind of like struggled to control it because it was a bit all over the place. But he moved it on
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Palmer, who was in like almost the perfect space for
yeah.
him to like receive the ball and played it. An absolutely fine ball into Watkins.
It was just a long pass that there was
Yeah,
nobody around it, and
yeah.
like Watkins, I thought at best he might be able to get a corner off here.
Hmm.
And
Well,
just what a flipping, finish. Oh my God.
well, to hold De Vrij off,
Yeah.
and actually, it was a perfect touch. Like his touch was perfect. So the fact that it was exactly where he could strike the ball in the only place that he could score it as well. Like he had to take that shot from that exact position, and the shot had to then be perfect to get it in.
Yeah.
And the touch was great. And when he shot, I was just like, again, those like nano milliseconds where you think back of like what you were thinking. And as he shot, I was just like, oh, fucking please. But also, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
And then it just nestles in that corner. And you just like, and you know what? That's not even like a goal that you could, there's some goals where you kind of go, oh, I don't know if I can celebrate because VAR and all that kind of
Well,
stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was a pure like, there's fucking nothing wrong with that.
The
Like
shirt
straight away.
the shirt came off for me, and Jen was kind of half watching the game, and she was like, because we'd already been burnt with the offside. She went, "Is that
Yeah.
offside?" And I went, "There's no way that's offside. That can never be offside." It's absolutely spot on.
Yes.
The feel good factor has finally arrived in the tournament. England are in back-to-back Euros finals. Absolutely incredible. I've avoided much outside of the podcasts in terms
Mm.
of reaction, especially kind of early on. I just have wanted the games to finish and then just kind of forget about it and naturally get excited. But I nearly watched Lions Den yesterday for the first time this tournament. But that was until I saw the guests were, and I quote, Rammers and Trent.
Blech. No
Rammers.
thanks. I love that
Yeah.
they're just sending out the idiots now. Of just like fucking yeah, the important players aren't getting anywhere near this content. We're not giving you this Lions Den.
Yeah, I used to love that in the first tournament and the second, so 2018 and 2020. I would like definitely watch it. But yeah, it kind of it became more of a brand than a cool little idea by the World Cup, and
Yeah,
now it's just like, yeah, I might have enjoyed it had the tournament been a bit different.
yeah. If it had been, but I think the only was it them that did. I don't know if it's Lions Den or it's the same thing. Those that diary room thing
Yeah,
with Ivan
I think it
Toney.
was the same thing. Yeah,
So that I actually someone posted it online, and I was just like, it was, and I think everyone's seen it now. The Ivan Toney no look things that he does. So he's playing darts while he's
oh
staring
yeah,
at the camera, and he's got bullseyes on all of them. And then he's got like he's reading a book, but he's not looking at the book. He's just like staring at the camera. And I thought all that was really good, and I enjoyed that. And then I was like, all right, I'll carry on. I wonder what else is on this now. And it ended up being him talking about like I think I said to you it was like Hench Club or Bench Club or something like that.
it was in
And it was
Bulkers.
him, Bulkers or something like that. Yeah, and he was like, yeah, we're taking in new memberships if anybody's up for it. And it was him, Joe Gomez, someone else, and Declan Rice. And I was like, God, Declan Rice is like the more I've watched him, the more I just think he's a nice, regular young man. but he is also one of the uncoolest footballers I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like he's just got no like coolness about him. He is just a good footballer who clearly is a very polite, nice, young, normal person.
no edge though.
No, but the fact that he is in this like cool guys benching club, and you look at him and just go, he is thin. Like he's like, I don't see where this benching's coming from. Like I'm a bit worried about it.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about them flipping benching so much. Just like watch out for your backs, lads.
Like
Listen to the
Gray.
32-year-old man. But yeah, I think actually on the Lions then they did have Watkins the day after. I didn't watch it, but I am really happy for him. There's been so much come out. And even his interview after the game, he just seems like such a nice, normal. I'd never thought about the concept of Ollie Watkins talking prior to that interview.
I couldn't tell you what his voice sounded like at all.
No.
In my head, he's from the Midlands, even though he's not.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I can't understand him going like just doing a Jack Grealish voice and us basically.
He's kind of proof personified at the moment of the squad harmony where everyone is involved and supportive of each other, which is just, as we've said before, purely and squarely on Gareth Southgate. And let's be fair, he's kind of what people have slagged him off for, like he's like too nice and God patting him on the back and stuff like that. Well, mate, come on, has anyone ever done better?
Yeah, well, that's exactly. This is where it gets you if you put the time in for this, and like you say, squad harmony is absolutely the defining thing of his era, really. Apart from winning these knockout games, he has made sure that England team are together, and we've had better England teams, maybe on paper, or starting 11s and that kind of stuff, but they fucking hated each other because it was the culture of I play for this club, we all sit on this table and all that, and that has just gone out of England. Whether that remains in terms of what happens post this tournament and maybe post Southgate, I don't know. But I think you said a while ago, it's not going to be easy to keep that up with the new messages that will be coming in. But you do feel like there's a great, maybe that's gone forever, or at least for the considerable future, that those barriers aren't there anymore with these people and they want to come and play for England and they're not going to just start fighting with each other or sitting on their own tables or anything like that.
I feel like
that's
it's
held them back for so long.
maybe more delicate than than it might appear. So I don't think it would take. It's one of those. It's like flipping. Not that I know much about these, but like exercise or losing weight. It takes forever to lose a few pounds, and it takes 2 minutes to put them back on.
Yeah, it could be like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like it's taken Southgate however many years to build this perfect kind of squad harmony where everyone's together and focused on the same goal. But I bet you it takes half a bad tournament, under a different manager who's less able to kind of focus on those things or what have you to knock it back for 10 years again. Let's talk about Southgate though, because there has been a lot of backtracking, which is nice. Obviously, some people will never backtrack, but there's been a lot less of those awful AI videos where it's him just reading a script that somebody's written going, well, I told them not to pass forward and they didn't listen. So he's getting fucking sacked in the morning.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And just 1-0 and sit back is what I would say for the team. A lot less of that, which is great. A lot less Gareth Southgate does this and that, where the hive is to go up the loft, as we said before. Very, very happy with that. And the FA are apparently, according to Fabrizio Romano yesterday, insisting that he stays on to the next World Cup in the role, regardless of the result on Sunday. I think this morning the stories come out that Southgate was asked about that and says that it's impossible to make a logical decision on that at this moment in time, which is fair. I think I texted you, I can't even remember when, but I was like, we've been saying for a very long time, this is going to be his last tournament, win or lose or whatever happens. And we're fine with that, even though we're big fans. I just want to say right now, I'm not fine with that.
You've backtracked as well, okay.
I think I was placating the mob all of this time by just going, right, yeah, don't worry. Yeah. I get you moaning, but it will be over soon. Exactly. Whereas deep down, if we'd gone out against Slovakia, I think it would have been hard to just because of that would have been like an Iceland-esque result. It would have been hard to make an argument for him. But if we would have gone out against the Netherlands, I think I would have been kind of saying the same thing, really. Yeah, I'd be absolutely happy for him to stay on. I don't think he should, because I think he should resign today and just say, you fucking absolute dickheads, England, as a country. You are in this shit on your own now. Get whoever you want in.
You
Get
want him
Dave.
to go today?
Get Dave from down the pub in and let him look after you like you said he would all this time. Or get Pep Guardiola in, because I'm sure he's going to want to come in last minute for a final against Spain, like you
Yeah.
think is going to happen. Like, he deserves better than to be just slated all the time, and he's done so
Yeah.
well. But realistically, I think there's still a job for him to do going forward. This is the start of a new squad. I think you said in the preview show we did, this is almost a transition squad, and he's got us to the Euros final.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm sort of the opinion of I would like him to go after the tournament simply because this is the best way to leave it. And if you change this now, you are like almost you're not sullying his legacy, because this is what his legacy is going to have been. It's the culture. It's the best time we've ever had as England fans. It's getting to finals. It's winning the knockout games. It's giving you amazing moments. And I just feel like no matter if he wins on Sunday or they lose on Sunday, that's not going to change. Like, maybe there'll be the end period will be, oh, couldn't win a final, or finally got us over the line, or easy side of the draw, or whatever side you want to sit on. I don't care. It's not going to get better than this, personally. I just, in terms of like momentum and continued happiness, I'd rather, for his sake, and because I'm fucking sick of being the only person with you and maybe like a couple of others who are like happy to defend him and don't go down the road of, oh, he's shit. Like, I'm exhausted by it, and I just can't do it again. I feel I can't go through this again. I want some fucking horrendous bloke, Eddie Howe, in charge, just so I can have my couple of years of like, your shit.
Yeah. This is what you asked for, and people
This
don't.
is what you wanted. This is what you've got. Fucking Eddie Howe.
Yeah, at best, Eddie Howe.
Oh
I
god,
could
well, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, some of the other candidates are already gone, and we'd have to talk about it now. But it's still just like, I hope for his sake he goes, because it's never going to get better, and it's your perfect chance to leave it brilliant.
There's also from my side, where I think I genuinely do want him to stay. I would like them to start thinking about the successor for that right now and say, you are definitely going at the World Cup, but we're not going to like wait around and see who's available like 2 weeks before the World Cup starts and think about it during the tournament, because it needs to be a well thought out.
Surely
decision.
they've got that. They've got the people, and they've already spoken to people, because I think they have to, almost, because it's so close. I think they must already have their list. They must already have who they would like, depending on who is available, and they've had those conversations.
And I look forward to Frank Lampard's beautiful reign
of terror.
But first,
he's got to do something now. The Tories are out of power, hasn't he? So,
but first, there is the small matter of the final. It's been a strange old journey from kind of Bellingham's early goal through to that Ollie Watkins thing. It's just been crazy. We've kind of become the enemies of football along the way, and I know we always have been, really, but now we're kind of like consistently doing well in tournaments. But this is better than this is as good as we can possibly do, getting to the final, maybe winning. People hate us just that little bit more. You've got the man in Scotland Scotland have really taken this badly, by the way.
Like, proper, like, you okay, babe? Like, after their tournament highlight, which was winning that goal kick in the first game.
Oh, yeah. There's that Scottish guy who's had a flag for every team we've faced out in the front of his garden.
I know.
Yeah, and
it
is
amazing.
Anyone but England, though, for like a lot of countries, not just Scotland. What's your thoughts on that?
Pathetic. Like, I absolutely get it. Don't get me wrong. I'm clearly not some idiot who just kind of goes, well, you should want all of the home nations to do well and all that. And I've got absolutely no problem with like Scotland and Wales when they get to a tournament. I'm really happy for them, because they're just another team to me. That's fine, but you kind of also only want them to do so well.
Yeah,
because it's just like, all right, don't show us up here. Like in 2016, I was happy Wales were doing well and England beat them on the way, but it did get to the point of like, all right, that's enough. Like, I was happy when they went out to Portugal, And obviously Scotland have literally never gotten out of a group stage of a tournament, so we'll never know, like, however they could do it as well. And obviously you've got kind of Ireland as well, hating back from home and things like that, which is, they just got their own opinions of it all as well. And
That,
everyone's taken it so badly. It's amazing.
That John McGinn video I sent you the other day, where it's him and Ollie Watkins being interviewed by Aston Villa, I think, before the tournament. That's made me hate John McGinn and Scotland. Like,
let the listeners know what actually that is.
Yeah, no, I'm just I don't want them to come for me. I don't want Scottish people or John McGinn in particular either.
They're not listening
to attack me, but there might be just out of bitterness, like self-sabotage.
Sat there seething through, is this England?
Yeah. So, yeah, the interview was basically they were being asked about the Euros. And I think the question was like, if England don't win it, Ollie, who do you want to win it? And he was like, I'd like Scotland to do it. And John, I think that'd be great. And John McGinn was just like, really? He was like, that's what you want to win? Can I just say, I absolutely categorically don't want that to happen the other way. You don't understand what it's like, in Scotland, we pay our TV license and we turn on the telly and it's commentators going us and they're English talking about England. And you just hate England. If we played you, fair enough. I'd want us to win 4-3 and you score 3 goals, but I'd want us to score 4. I don't want you to do well. He was basically just jumped on him like that. And Ollie Watkins looked so sad and confused. And he was like, no, I don't agree. I don't agree.
Friends.
He's like, I don't agree with that. I'd want you to do well. You're my friend. So what a dickhead. What a little dickhead.
But that's like the exact kind of thing of where people are these days. And there's always been. I think it's just more out there and you can actually hear just more of these opinions that are like that.
Yeah.
I just find it's very rare I can think of occasions where I've properly gone in and hating another team because I just don't feel like I think it's not a good use of energy at times. And you can enjoy a team not doing well that you don't like. Like, I absolutely get that. And, I'm not saying everyone's got to start turning around and supporting England because that's absolutely not the way to do it. But like you say, the stuff like the flags, all in the Twitter bios of always having the different flag in there as well. I've took the piss out of my mates for just being like, oh yeah, you're sending your Netherlands shirt back and your Swiss shirt and your Slovakia shirt and your Slovenia shirt and your Danish shirt and your Serbia shirt. Like, that's a lot of refunds, that is. And now you're getting, you're on DHgate and you're getting your Spanish top in and all the contents come from there. This morning I looked and I try and avoid Paddy Power at any opportunity given. I think I've blocked them on everything I possibly can, but I still get videos of them seep through. And it was like a load of Scottish not journalists, commentators almost of Alan Brazil, Charlie Nicholas and all that. And they were all in Spanish tops being like, oh yeah, I'm basically from Spain, our culture and all that. And it's just this is so try hard. This is so look at me and look how much I hate England and what I can do. And I'm just I don't know. I just can't imagine myself ever going to those lengths. And I think even you get the Scouse not English has kind of popped up quite a lot as well. And I know a lot of Man United fans that I follow on Twitter aren't England fans as well. And again, it's not that they should have to support England because they are technically English. You can do what you want with your time, but it's just the try-hard nature of it all that I just find really tiresome. And also, after the Netherlands game, fucking brilliant because they all had the big boo-boo faces on. They were all proper bitter. Your Barry Glendennings making an absolute child of himself. Honigstein being disgraceful at times the way he was talking about England, and he's blocked me anyway, so I don't really see a lot of him. And then that Kieran McKenna, I think his name is, he's Irish. He has been having a proper fucking meltdown the last couple of days. And I've turned on Twitter this morning and now he's going for LGBTQ people. And I'm just like, what has happened to you? This is gone. This is next level of bad. You've taken this.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're a journalist and you're saying stuff like that, you're kind of risking your job in a way. On the journalist side of things, I think it's took a lot of people by surprise and they can't really reconcile the fact that England haven't been incredible and haven't been fashionable and exciting or a quirky, interesting pick because they were one of the favourites pre-tournament and they've scraped through to the final based on character and grit. And just all the smugness about the early games and just being like, this is really poor. Their pass completion was I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying the passes aren't going to people, and that's making me angry. But the journalists who never ever kick a fucking football in their entire life, or run, or do any form of exercise, and sit there and think that they understand football because they're lucky enough to be paid to watch it and
Yeah.
write about it. The good writers, maybe, and good journalists, and obviously have an understanding of football. But like, at the end of the day, it's not for you. It's not for nerds and things like that.
Yeah,
It's
the
like a
absolute
sport.
squares. Yeah.
It's like Declan Rice. You can. It's easy to sit there and slag him off, but you must accept at the same time, if he's going out there and having a bad performance, it's not because he knows less about football than you. It's just
Yeah.
because he's playing a professional sport and he's maybe having a bad day. So it's quite kind of interesting to me to see all the journalists who, and if we win the tournament, that they'll continue this. That they'll continue this. How have they done that? It's such a quirk. And
Yeah.
because it's not systems based or an exciting tactic managed by a 32-year-old that they can write about.
Yeah.
and
Just 'cause it's not Brighton. Yeah.
seem clever. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, really, which is why I do like try. I just this sounds bad, but I don't think there's that many good podcasts out there. Like the Football Ramble's been great to listen to throughout the tournament. The the rest is football, as bad as it is. They do come at it when they're not talking about what it's like to be a commentator. They do sound like fans,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of element has been probably missing from the reaction for this tournament.
Let's not talk about ourselves, but we do this because it's fun and we enjoy it. But I don't feel like there's that fun and enjoyment. Like, I really wanted a load of podcasts and content to listen to on Thursday, and I just Googled, I don't know, England or Euros or something like that, and I got that Totally Football show, and I found it absolutely unlistenable
Yeah,
and disgusting, actually, in terms of like how you would even cover a game, and the smugness almost about England winning when they shouldn't be winning or whatever that is. It was just stupid. And then there was like, what was the other one I listened to? There was another one, it was like a fan one. And I was like, okay, I'm not particularly into this and whatever. And then it was just all the other stuff around it. Like, I know The Guardian do one, but I never touch that because I can't stand the hosts. And they always have, again, the smuggest people on earth to come on and talk about their high level opinions. And actually, it's all for the good game. And actually, I support Cambridge and aren't I great? And all this kind of shit I just can't be dealing with. And I just thought, yeah, the content's been low. The only one I've actually really enjoyed is always the Stick to Football one, because you
Yeah.
get Ian Wright, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, all those kind of people who are really good on it. And it's like, they are fans, but they're also actually taking their fan heads off a lot of the time, and they're trying to look at it objectively. And Jill Scott's always great for that as well, because you can tell she's just a really great open person and a fan as well, and really charismatic. So yeah, that's the one. I'm saving that for today, I think.
On the good side of things, though, we have that. There's not been too much Barry, but there's still time for Barry from EastEnders. But we've had Ross Kemp come out of the woodwork. We love you. We love
Ollie
you.
Watkins. I fucking loved that. That was so good because he was clearly still doing it while the game was going on, and it was just like words were popping into his head. We are in the final if we can do this, and he's like doing a weird like point at the camera, and it's like, which we will mess up maybe, and I'm like, this is amazing.
The Killers have done themselves no harm in terms of PR and relevancy by
that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, dropping Mr. Brightside straight after the final whistle went. That's just a quirk of good logistics happening there as well, and a bit of fate that it didn't go to extra time. Or I mean, what would the play if Netherlands had equalised at in 94 minutes?
I know. I'm assuming what happened was they finished the song near the end of their set, and someone went, England have just scored. We can get it on the. I mean, I don't know how they've even got it on the screen at that short a notice. It's fucking amazing. But they must have gone, all right, if they're winning really late on, let's do this and get it over the line.
Yeah.
And then to just break into Mr. Brightside, like, that is a proper English person of a certain age. Is like, I think someone said it was like their dream VR experience of like that happening, which is great. Kings of Leon, they were playing in England as well. I think they were playing in Manchester, and they came out and did Sweet Caroline, and they played it over and all sang it, which was great too.
Yeah, I saw the singer going, it's coming home. Is that right? Like, it's not a different language. It's just 3 words. You must know it. the BBC is starting to have good content to work with us now. Sorry, so they're putting together the packages, and they're not what you call it. They're not just like Declan Rice going in for a tackle on the halfway line and getting a yellow card set to like Adele or something like that. Graham Taylor, the sit down point that he did as well.
That like the Graham Taylor content has made me so happy in the last day, like in the pure like pub fueled joy. Then when I came home and it was just so many pictures of Graham Taylor and like, oh, this is for 93 to Koeman and all that kind of stuff. And like, I just can't not love seeing him happy because I saw it so little. Like whenever we've covered his teams and things like that, I'm just like, oh yeah, brilliant.
I know, yeah. Well, we do have a final to look forward to for the second time in our lives, for the second time since 1966, for the first time away from England.
Let's just get this right. The second men's final, because there's also been the big backlash of actually.
I hate that stuff. It's
I know,
like, come
because
on.
it's like, you know it's different. No one's saying it's not this. We did a whole podcast about the women's Euros final, and we admitted how much it kind of touched us, and we felt amazing about it. But also, I still think no matter what happens on Sunday, the women winning that final is more of a cultural impact for the country and what could come before than if the men win it.
It definitely has the potential to be.
It's because it's changed the way that a lot of women now watch football because of that and follow teams and like have their daughters want to play sport and football and things like that. And the eyes on the women's game has changed it all. And we can actually go a bit more towards the way America like look at female sport. And even like what it did for like female cricket was amazing because more people now go to watch the England women's cricket team as well. And it's like all that good stuff. But let's just stop at all the fucking point scoring of like actually. And it's like, look, Harry Kane, we said it before, when he says England haven't won something for so long, he's the England men's captain. He's talking about himself.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly, it's like it doesn't take away what you've done.
Two completely different journeys. So yeah. But we you know, the men's team then are in the final, and let's focus on that. It's Sunday, July the 14th, 2024, 8:00 kickoff at the Olympia Stadium in Berlin. England are unbeaten in 5 visits to this stadium, the last being that 3-2 victory against Germany back in 2016.
Yes.
There was also one which I think it was 2008. We beat them 2-1.
Yes.
Germany, that is. Goals from John Terry and Matthew Upson.
Stick it in the box.
I was looking at like an article about all the times England had played at the stadium or in Berlin in general. And for a second, I thought that was the last one. And the picture that they had for it was John Terry celebrating with Matthew Upson and Gabby Agbonlahor in the background. So I had to close my computer and just do something else for about 5 or 10 minutes.
Fire to it.
Yeah, exactly. But we've got opposition to talk about as well. Spain. Scary Spain.
Yeah.
I'm going to say to you in the form of a question, worthy finalists and hot favourites?
Yeah, to both really. They since the start of the tournament, they've been really impressive and really good. They've got a bit of the Italy about them from last time. Kind of like the players of like the name of Spain or Italy can take you so far because of their history and recent history and success. But actually looking at the players, you go, not a vintage team. And I think we said before the tournament as well, we didn't really have them much on our radar. But there's clearly momentum with them. And there's clearly something about even when they're like putting players in and out of the team because of injury or suspension, they're getting through games, they're playing well. And there is just that almost inevitability a little bit about Spain, I think, at this point.
I think they look really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look at their tournament so far then. They're managed by Luis de la Fuente, 63 years old. I feel like I hadn't heard about him at all prior to the tournament, and I've heard a little bit of this is what he's doing that's different to other Spanish men and what have you, and kind of just glossed over it because I thought, well, England ain't going to play Spain at all, so that's fine. Yeah. Let them just carry on. The reason I probably haven't heard of him much is because he's been away from club football since 2013. He's been almost doing something similar to what Gareth Southgate kind of did. He's So in 2013, he started managing Spain under 19s. I think he did that for about 4 or 5 years, then moved on to the under 21s, then the under 23s, and now he's the senior team's manager, which I think is really interesting. And again, it's like with Mancini and Vialli at the last tournament. It's like, they've got a nice bit of narrative too as well, haven't they? Their manager's it's not Roberto Martinez, and you're like, fuck him. I don't want him to win. I would not begrudge this guy winning a trophy with Spain. It sounds like he's put an awful lot of work in, and he's kind of seeing the benefits of that now. We looked at the squad pre-tournament. I think we said it wasn't a vintage one for Spain. I don't think we really saw anyone outside of France that we thought would be like. It felt like France's name were on the trophy.
There was big question marks about a lot of other teams, that's why we just couldn't see past France really. And then obviously they've had a stinker really, even though they got to the semi-finals, they've like wanting to hang Deschamps now.
Yeah, and again, similar to England, kind of a youthness and is youthness a word? Youth and kind of togetherness have shone. Spain have been a lot more impressive, though, in their run to the final. A 3-0 win against Croatia, a 1-0 win against Italy, a 1-0 win against Albania, 4-1 win against Georgia, 2-1 win against Germany, and a 2-1 win against France. So wins all across the board. You'd think that's a given considering they're in the final, but England have got 2 draws.
Yeah, and I think more than that as well. They had to go into extra time. Yeah. They had to do. They drew really against Switzerland, and went through on penalties. So there's like a lot there too.
Yeah, I think just the one extra time for Spain against Germany. So fresher in the legs, which is great. The story right now, I think, with Spain is Lamine Yamal, 16. I think he's 17 today as we record this. Actually, it's his birthday on the 13th.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. Get back to school. He's lit up the tournament. Absolutely incredible goal against France in the semi-final. Looks the real deal and kind of a symbol of the tournament in terms of, Christ, young players are absolutely ridiculous. And you've got Luke Littler in the darts. You've got your man Alcaraz in the tennis. Like, is it just like, professional athletes getting younger?
I think they've just been pushed down that thing of like, you will be an athlete at 7. You will do this, going down the Williams idea of just like, if I train them from birth, they will do something, and I'm pushing them into this.
Like Brett and Owen Hart's dad.
Yeah,
in the dungeon. Stu Hart.
Okay, Yamal's dungeon.
Look at some of the other success stories in there, though, aside from him. Obviously, you'd expect him to kind of play a key part in the final, but Cucurella has been one of the big success stories. He's had an absolutely brilliant tournament. Has looked great in every game. A bit of a joke coming into it. I think his move to Chelsea had really kind of backfired. But now you think, okay, a little blip in his career maybe, and he can move forward. We move on to Rodri. Just Rodri, really. Yeah. One of the best footballers in the world, without a doubt.
The soulless machine that is Rodri, the T1000 of football, just absolutely relentless, and clearly more than a holding midfielder, because even like the amount of goals and assists he got last season in the Premier League as well. That's why he was one of the best players in the league, and he's so much more than just the holding player, but he is fucking brilliant at that as well. And it just kind of he's like a bit of a sexier but a less fashionable Busquets. Like he's got more to his game than Busquets, whether he's kind of like that level. But again, I always found Busquets quite unlovable, because it was just like, I know I'm told he's good, and I can see that he's good at certain things, but I never like. It was never I wanted to sit down and watch him play, because I do just find a lot of that repetitive, passing kind of thing really boring. But I understand the joy of it all in terms of like what it can bring to a team, and the proper nerds can love him for it.
You can just see us on like 70 minutes tomorrow going, fucking hell, he's been brilliant, hasn't he, Rodri? We've got the ball off him once. Yeah. Fabian Ruiz as well in there. PSG midfielder. He's, according to an article from The Guardian, he's emerged as the face of New Spain. He's had a really solid tournament as well. I think a couple of goals in there as well. Then, for me, the ultimate terrifying proposition from this Spain team is Nico Williams. I am fucking petrified. He plays on the same wing as, Kieran Trippier will be defending him.
Well, no, doesn't he play on the left?
I hope so.
I think Williams plays on the left, and then
let's just move Kyle Walker
into the right,
wherever he is.
Yeah, well, I think that's the hope, isn't it, of Kyle Walker the last ride for Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
To do that. We always said that the Mbappe one was the last kind of chance, the last good bit of Kyle Walker, which actually he did quite well with in the
I thought he
in the
did
World
great.
Cup
Yeah.
game. Yeah, he did. They did quite well. So this really is that last test, I feel, for him.
Alvaro Morata up top, Spain's captain, ridiculed, kind of a figment of fun, but Spain's undoubted leader. And wouldn't it just be Morata to score the winner?
We said this about the Netherlands, though, of like, oh, wouldn't it just be right? Like, there's so many players and so much narrative, like already like waiting to be written about certain things. I
Yeah.
think I saw someone just say, Alvaro Morata, he's been at Juventus permanently for 3 years. He's also been on loan to Atletico Madrid for a year and a half. He's also got the most goals of any striker in the world. He's also got 2 in 20 years. Like, he's
Yeah.
just like a conundrum of a player. Like, you just don't understand, like, oh, actually, he's also still permanently a Chelsea player, or he's something like he's got like, accumulated the most amount of money of any player ever in terms of transfers. Also, he's had the most unsuccessful loans. Like, anything could be true about him. He's just
Definitely.
such a confusing player.
I know, and not a bad one. You know,
No,
just one of
well,
those.
is he? I don't know. This is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, he clearly is a very good player, but he just misses chances. Like, he does just do that as a player. He's very similar. I know he got similar like to Lukaku, even though I think his game is all round better than Lukaku's, but it's less flashy. But he also has those moments where he's running in on goal and you just go, probably not going to score, touch wood and all that but he could be, say, he is the most narrative dripping player in that Spain team, I feel, for England.
Let's have a look at England. We've obviously super focused on the Netherlands game, but let's zoom out a little bit. How did we get here then? Fluid first 30 minutes against Serbia. From there, we slid into a depressing Denmark game where we looked flat and average. Then we played the Slavs back to back, causing pure confusion on and off the pitch. I still haven't, as I say earlier, reconciled that we didn't go out against Slovakia, but we stuck through. Things needed to change, and in came the back five for 2 improved performances against the Swiss and the Netherlands. So, yeah, there's a lot we can talk about in episode 66 when that comes out, just in terms of the tournament. I was thinking we could do like a little, not now, but in the next episode, like a back and forth, just name something you remember about the tournament and just see how far we can go, because there's so many little things, like little moments. That Kieran Trippier shot against Slovakia, that was the worst shot of all time.
There's definite things I've seen that have kind of like almost become narratives online as well, and I'll mention it on the next one when we do come back, because we're not going to be cowards no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the little things that you kind of go, yes, that was Euro 2024.
Yeah. Are we hitting form at the right time? Because that is something we can, people say about tournament teams and teams that do well in tournaments, and people would never ever say that about England in the past. If we've ever hit form, we've hit it too early.
Literally, you lift off for England too early with that. Yeah, it's almost felt like England have done a France or a Germany or Italy, even where they've kind of unimpressed, and then when it's really mattered at the key moments, they have turned up and they've stayed in games and they've stayed in tournaments, saving their best performance in general for the Netherlands game, really, as well. And yeah, I think it's been, you'd hope so. We've said it before, we felt quite disconnected from the tournament and from England, and we just couldn't figure out why. And I think it was just because it was the bad football, the press, the pressure, the online stuff, and all that. And then we also kind of was like slightly still a bit disassociated with it. Like, I was in much a worse state going into the last Euros final. Like, it was already all I could think about nonstop. And on the morning, on the day we talked about it was horrible. There's an element of that, but it's not as bad this time, because I still feel like this is slightly disassociated with it.
I know what you mean.
But it's still like not. I still run really into it and want it to win. And we've had the Euros fever like quite late on, but it's here now. And yeah, hopefully we're hitting form at the right time. Do you feel there's a little bit of destiny about it all?
Yeah.
Like, there was, I saw something that showed that when Portugal won the Euros last time, the knockout stage has been like exactly the same almost in terms of how they've won games. So they won the first one in extra time. They won the second one with the penalty shootout, and they won their third game in normal time in the semi-final. Is it an extra time winner for
Oh.
England as well against the favourites, which is kind of what the next game is too? So you feel there's something either way, don't you? But which is a bit of a cop out, but yeah, you'd hope this is the time. You'd really hope so.
Well, I felt like the time was 2020. Would you
Yeah.
say that we were favourites going into that game and that we're underdogs now? And if so, what's the kind of difference in feeling?
I think it was favourites because the whole nation was just swept up in it all, and they were favourites because it was in England. It was still a strange tournament. It felt like it was, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen now because this team is the coming team.
And an unfancied Italy side, really, and a fancied England side.
Yeah, I mean, Italy were, when you look back, England played all right in that tournament and they got there and deserved to be finalists. But Italy were the entertainers of that tournament when you look back as well. Like, I remember just going, well, if England don't win it, I'm happy that Italy will win it.
Seems strange, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, but it's one of those things. Like, I still think that they were still the most entertaining, weird, fun team at the tournament, even though it took them extra time and penalties to get like to certain stages. I've just got something about Spain that I always just find quite unlikable because, like I've said, I didn't like that period where they dominated football because I found it really dull at times. I didn't find their games really interesting, and I know they they won a final 4-0. That probably says a bit more of where Italy were at that point in 2012, and actually that they played boring football on the way there.
My favourite international era
Awful
of a team.
awful.
Well, it's just a
Absolutely.
difference of opinion, isn't it?
It is, yeah, but it was boring. It was fucking horrible. But either way, looking at it now, England aren't the favourites coming into this. They are massive underdogs to Spain, who have been that team. The thing I would like to think of going into this game is the fact that England have dragged other teams down to their level in a way this tournament, or they've been dragged down to other teams' level. They've kind of evened the playing field in a lot of games. You wouldn't say any team has gotten really ahead of the other team in an England game yet.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of experience still in that England team where there's, you've got your Rodri and a couple of other players. This is still quite an inexperienced Spain team in general at international football, apart from a couple of notable exceptions and reliable players.
I know, yeah. And it just, I mean, they're missing, as we said, Pedri and Gavi, and also like their most exciting and terrifying players are their youngest players. So it's a bit
and
of
even like Olmo as well, who's come in the last couple of games and has been brilliant and fantastic. And it's one of those players where I've just never really understood what he was.
No.
And always have like, oh yeah, Danny Olmo. I think it's because he plays for Leipzig, doesn't he still?
Yeah.
And you're just like, what are you doing there? Like, surely that's not gonna, like, City are gonna buy him for like 80 million or something in the summer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just see that absolutely happening. There's no chance he's staying at Leipzig, you'd imagine.
I've just thought we weren't too far away from this being the final in 2020 either, because Italy v Spain was the semi.
And Italy only got through on penalties in that game, and I think Olmo missed the penalty.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there's your redemption there again. Yeah.
Yeah. We beat them on penalties in the past as well, haven't we, Spain? In 96?
Euro 96, yeah. That was back when Spain had an even worse record than England, and that was England's first ever penalty shootout win.
Yeah. Get crazy. Let's have a bit of a kind of wrap up on our thoughts on the game then. Presuming that we're sticking with the same 11 with Trippier starting, I think that's the only question mark I would have. Or do you think changes?
I think that's the only one. I think, yeah, it's whether Southgate is confident that Luke Shaw could play 90 minutes and more.
Yeah.
I guess the only, we've said it before, it's a weird thing to say about it, but you can only bring Shaw off. And like the option of, could you get 60, 70, 80 minutes out of Shaw and then bring Trippier on? Or do you almost do the half time what he's done again? I don't know. Like, personally, I think you've got to go and try and win the game in normal time against this Spain team because they'll grind you down. Mm-hmm. So I think I'd like to see Shaw start, and then if needed, you put Trippier on, and then maybe you end up changing formation or something. But yeah, I'd like to see Shaw, but that'll be the only change probably, if that even happens. And it probably won't because it's Gareth. So
let's talk about where the game could be won or lost. From a Spain perspective, I would say Rodri and Nico Williams are the two where I'm just like, yeah, that's going to be damaging. Like, regardless of how we go, Rodri will infuriate us and Nico Williams will scare us. And it's just about how high they can take their levels. But from an England side, I think Mainu being there is not so much like a game winning attribute for the team, but it's like he's the most Spanish English player I think we have. And it's like, we've got one of you now, so don't try any funny shit.
He knows what you're up to. He's got the same brain. This is how this works. Would you even like look at a Bellingham and just say with him, without the ball, just sit on Rodri? Just go and make it fucking difficult for him because you're an imposing player as well. You couldn't really do that with Foden. I don't know. Maybe Foden's got the inside track on what to do with Rodri and what pisses him off and all that. Could Foden maybe be that player? I don't know if he's disciplined enough for it. I don't know if Bellingham is, but he's definitely bigger. And that's all I can think about. Just put the big man next to the big man and just almost like negate him. And then you've got a chance at least somewhere. I think it's interesting that the Yamal as well. Is Trippier maybe built for starting the game because he is right-footed and Yamal's going to want to cut in on his left foot. So you're almost taking him away with you as well. But then obviously Carvajal making those runs is going to make it interesting with Guehi on that side too. So I think it's that right side for me personally. I think Walker and Williams will be a really interesting game. I do have confidence in Walker being better for it. It's what England do with a winger coming inside with that overlap while they're playing the back five. You do hope they've got enough cover there.
And it's Harry Kane as well for me. If you go in doing that head-to-head each position thing, that's one where we've got a clear, on paper, a clear, better player. It's scary to talk about now.
This is the last day we can enjoy this. As we sit here on Saturday morning, this is the last day where we can go, what a fun time it was. Netherlands, Ollie Watkins goal, all that kind of stuff. Tonight and tomorrow morning is the Larry David scared face. Fuck, what am I going to do? I'm going to go watch Uncut Gems to relax kind of day.
If you were a neutral, would you be expecting a good game here? Kind of styles make fights, as they say. Or would you be expecting a bit of a dud?
I think it'll be a bit Netherlands-ish. I think it'll be back and forth. I think it'll be interesting to see what will happen because England, whenever they've fallen behind at the tournament, have had to come alive.
Yeah.
So what happens if Spain score early and do a lift-off? Is it just a fact of England will have to come out, they'll have to change it. Almost the worst thing that could happen for England is the game remains goalless for a long time. I feel like even if Spain score first, it'd be frustrating and all that kind of stuff, but you'd still feel England could get back into it.
Yeah.
I'd also if you take it that deep and you are really conservative and you just stifle it and try and get to extra time or whatever, I don't know if England can hold on as well as long. And you don't know, they can't keep doing this almost. But if they did, and they did stodge and shithouse their way to awful XG loss but a real game win, I actually think that's the best thing that could happen because the fume it would cause everywhere else around the world for all these people we've discussed earlier. That's we said it before, we don't care how England play as long as they win a tournament. Is that this year? This is the closest we'll ever get to, I don't care how we do it, we just have to do it.
I think the players feel like that as well. Do you have a preference when it comes to the coverage? I don't think either of us are going to have much of a say. Are you an ITV man? I think I would always say BBC in the past, but ITV have done them this year with the pundits.
Yeah, totally.
My take though would be BBC just because of the lack of adverts. I don't like that ITV gives you a break from stress that you forget about it for a moment and you're watching adverts about beer and stuff like that, and then you're like. And it's like, we're back in, and your whole body just sucks into a vacuum.
I don't want to watch any of the highlights again. This is making me nervous. I don't want Roy Keane going, he's got to do better there. And Gary Neville just going absolutely mental, doing a full Nev. Yeah. And I'm just I don't want any of this. But I will say the BBC's pundits are pretty shit as far as I've kind of looked at them in the coverage. What I'd actually do if I was having my choice at home, and I'm going to be at a music festival for this with a big screen, which is, I don't really know how to feel about that. But BBC, I think ITV for the build-up. Then as soon as you hear Sam Matterface over to BBC, and then You give it 3 minutes, 4 minutes into the BBC's coverage of half time over to ITV, and then
Wow.
do the same of as soon as Matterface reappears again, you're back on the BBC.
Let's do a little thought experiment before we get to our score predictions. If you had to pick one England player to have the game-winning moment from this squad, so it could be one of the lesser spotted players of the tournament, who would it be?
My mind does kind of go to Bellingham to be like, yes, the daddy is here, and the daddy is Jude Bellingham, and this
gonna
is what it's been
dominate.
building to with like the story around him and all that.
Yeah.
Just for preference of players and kind of, my love for them and my fear of them not doing well, I'd love it to be like Kobe Mainoo or something like that, because again, we're both Man United fans, and seeing him be good at this tournament, and I almost like the worry if he wasn't good for himself because of how much he could easily be jumped on or things like that. Like, you do bring club allegiances into these things, unfortunately. Yeah, I think someone like that, I wouldn't mind. I don't care who it is, as long as somebody is kind of like does
Yeah.
that, or it's just a team. And really, the person who will have the game-winning moment, Southgate, kind of
Yeah.
making a change that works, or being brave with something, or a decision along the way, is kind of like he is taking the criticism and he's taking the positives, even though the positives, still come with criticism. It seems. I just want him to have a good time.
I would go for Saka
Okay,
for that
yeah.
redemption arc. I mean, as we said before, he had nothing to redeem. He missed the penalty, so what? It's more just like the fuck you arc of
Yeah, definitely.
comeback. And Kane, he's had a horrible tournament, really, to be honest, in terms of doubt placed on him. And
Yeah, the joint top scorer.
yeah, and he's the man. And look, let's face it, in 2 years, he's not going to get better, is he, in terms of physicality and stuff like that. So he's led us all this way. He's been quiet in a sense all tournament. It'd be great to see him have that last moment and cap it off with the trophy that, let's face it, has eluded him at club level as well his entire career,
Yeah.
even with moving to Bayern Munich. Right, score prediction time. Time to predict the score. Score predictions. I'm not stalling for time. I'm not stalling. No, I'm not, because I know what I'm going to say. So, do you want to go first?
You do
or
it.
do you want-
You do it first. No, you do it first. Before you even did the last thought experiment, you were like, before we do predictions, I just went, I just didn't want to do it.
I think let's make it a bit more interesting as well, and we can give a bit of colour surrounding just the score. 1-0 England, Harry Kane, extra time.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay.
You said it kind of earlier, and I was already kind of thinking it as well, but it is that kind of the best thing that can happen in a way is for it to kind of just go, just get stressful and dirty and nothing happening, and England to just grit it. Because if it comes down to a straight football match, you'd say by the type of tournament it's been, Spain have been great at that. England have always had to find something deep within themselves, and maybe there's just one more time of going to the well for that. And you know what? I just can't imagine the aftermath of us winning, and it's just going to be disappointing. Like, because you imagine it in your mind to be like the last days of Rome, but really everyone's got work on Monday. I'll be too drunk and I'll be like necking Rennies just to go. I'll be like heartburn. And in reality, this should have happened in 2020 because I was about 2 weeks away from turning 30. It would have been great. But yeah,
I don't know what is going to happen if England win in general, because you can imagine the idea of, like, you see it when like NFL teams or something win the Super Bowl and they're all out in the streets and they're all going crazy and all that stuff. But like, I don't know. I don't feel like in English football that is as much of a thing, because like, for how many years now we've seen Man City win the league, for example, and like the absolute states that turn up to the Etihad once it's confirmed about 3 weeks before the end of the season. It's just like, oh, the scene's here, and it's like 7 people in like a shirt.
Were you
And
ever...
so I don't really know. And even when you look at like cup wins or things like that, like I don't ever see like loads of stuff of like fan celebrations. Obviously, things like in like in the Americas and things like that, like South America, it's just like bedlam and amazing and things like that. But I don't know what our culture is of winning something, because
It's
it's
almost
not
like
in us.
with sport as well, the idea of seeing something is pretty much 9 times out of 10 always better than the actual. Like, I remember Conor McGregor fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov in the UFC, and I'd wanted to see that fight for years. And I was like, it's just going to be the biggest thing ever. And then it
Yeah.
happened, and everything was absolutely fine and normal again. Like, just, I wanted to ask you then, actually, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and say we're going to win, but, we may as well be positive. But speaking honestly, do you think at any point in your life you thought, or maybe did you hold the belief that, okay, I'm going to die before England win something? Like, it's
Yeah.
just not going to happen in my lifetime. And
I
sincerely
think,
felt it, not just being negative for the sake of it.
yeah. It's just almost like not going to happen. But I'd also, I've always thought, just like the stats and likelihood of just if you keep doing the same thing and you keep going to tournaments as a fancied side, let's say, who
Yeah.
should be doing better than they have, and all this kind of stuff. And we had obviously the Hodgson years and the years where it was like the poor players and things like that. But every now and then England do get a good team together and go and start getting, getting their shit together. Just of like the likelihood of outcomes, you just thought it's possible, but I've never been close to actually feeling that. I've just
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's gonna happen. And that's why the last Euros final was so nerve inducing, because it was like this may never happen again.
And it's also
That
like
was the worry.
if you give us another McLaren, Capello, Hodgson back to back, me and you are pushing 50.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
that point,
exactly.
you know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
and that is the worry about it as well, of hoping your team wins something and hoping you're able to see it
And yeah,
and have those good times. And this is, again, we said it a million times, this is the best it's ever been for us. And if it's not now, then when? Like, maybe it'll be if England do win and Southgate leaves and another manager comes in and it all changes and England could go on to be like, a good dominant European and world team. But because it's England, I don't ever think that's ever going to happen. And
yeah,
because there's no evidence of that before.
I know. So predict your score then, and a bit of colour surrounding it.
I'm going to just say what I want to happen, because I think Spain are going to be the favourites. They're clearly a very good team, and I don't know if they're a good mix for England in this, but if it just goes the same way, similar to like the Netherlands game of, I do think Spain, if almost for England, they've got to go behind, but go behind with enough time to do something about it.
Yeah,
So I think if it is going in 1-1 at half time, I'd absolutely snatch your hand off for that. If it's kind of like Spain take the lead and England come back, and just going into, I just want England to be in it going into that last period, because you do feel like the changes England could make and that they have made in the last couple of games could change the game again. What you do in terms of, do you bring on the Ollie Watkins again for Kane and see if that trick works again? Because a tiring Spanish back line and they're going to play really high up, and Watkins kind of running in behind, like that trick has worked once. I'd love it to work again.
yeah. That's a very precise score you've given there.
What, 1-1 in like at half
No,
time?
I'm saying you've not given a score.
No. I'll just to say what I want to happen, 2-1 England. I think
Yeah,
if it goes to extra time, I think they'll be buggered. I just think you can't keep going to penalty shootouts and expecting to keep getting through almost as well. And
yeah,
Spain have kind of done their own redemption penalty. They've used that card already last tournament, in
yeah.
doing that in the last Euros as well. So yeah, I'd be hoping England can kind of get through and do it in normal time, and
Well,
then whatever happens, fucking hell, I've got no idea.
neither of us were really going to predict a loss, but we can both probably agree Spain are the favourites.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
and
it makes
I
no
enjoy it, to be
difference.
honest. It
Yeah,
makes no difference, and I do kind of enjoy it. I'm like, right, come on, let's hope for the best.
this isn't a time for cowards. This is positivity. We don't want the cowards now. We're not going to be the cowards.
And as we've said, we cowarded out at the World Cup. We didn't do a podcast after we went out to France. I think there were extenuating circumstances, but I can't remember what they were. So
I think
cowards.
it was Christmas and we were all just very tired and we've all been on the piss for ages. And it was
And
like,
and me and you had put like a lot of time and effort in, because we'd started the podcast in, I think, January of that year,
yeah,
and we did about 40 episodes, maybe
Yeah.
more in that kind of year. And yeah, but I do want to say, because if we lose, I can't imagine anyone's going to listen to episode 66. But I've really, really, really enjoyed doing this tournament. It's been probably the actual highlight of the tournament because the football's been bad. And it's been great to get a bit of feedback and like people excited to hear the next episode and stuff like that. And people have actually been listening, like, you know, and it's brilliant. And yeah, so thank you to everyone who's done that. And we're all together. Let's hope for the win together. And then see, you know, if we win, we could end up doing 2 episodes, the me and you episode, and then the cinematic universe.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
We'll do 5 episodes.
Oh man, do you imagine that if we do like the win, we do our own kind of feedback and thoughts and all that, and then we just, you know what, as a treat, we open it up to everybody else to give us their thoughts again. Because obviously there was the episode I couldn't do, so everyone really helped out with that as well, and it's just their little own treat and reaction almost.
Yeah. Well, let's put it all out there into the universe. England are in a final, Mick. This is what we live for. Sick people. Sick,
Yeah.
dirty people.
Sickos.
Come on, England.